They thought it would be hilarious. A harmless prank. Set up the janitor, the one who cleaned their floors, who they barely noticed on a blind date with their friend, a sweet schoolteacher who believed in second chances. They wanted to watch her face when she realized her perfect match was just a guy who mopped concert hall stages for minimum wage. They thought they'd get a funny story, maybe some embarrassing photos, something to laugh about over expensive wine. What they got instead was a lesson they'd never forget. Because Marcus Williams wasn't just a janitor, and what happened that night didn't just change 2 lives, it changed everyone who witnessed it. This is the story of how the cruelest joke became the most beautiful love story, and how one man's hidden talent left an entire room speechless. Marcus Williams was 35 years old, and most days he felt twice that. Every night at 11 p.m., he'd clock in at the Riverside Concert Hall in downtown Boston. While the city slept, Marcus walked through empty corridors that still echoed with the day's music. His job was simple: mop the floors, wipe down the seats, clean the stage where world-renowned musicians performed for audiences who paid hundreds of dollars per ticket. He was invisible. That's what janitors are, really. Invisible people who keep the world running while everyone else takes the credit. Marcus lived in a studio apartment in Dorchester, the kind of place where the heat barely worked in winter and the neighbors were always too loud. His furniture came from yard sales. His clothes came from thrift stores. His dinner usually came from whatever was on sale at the corner bodega. He'd been doing this for 7 years. 7 years of night shifts. 7 years of going home when the sun came up. 7 years of being alone. His co-workers at the concert hall barely spoke to him. To them, he was just the black guy who cleaned up after their events. They'd leave their trash everywhere expecting him to deal with it. Sometimes they'd still be there when he started his shift, laughing in the lobby with their fancy coats and their expensive tickets, not even noticing him as he pushed his cart past them. Marcus had learned not to make eye contact. It was easier that way. Easier to be invisible than to see the way people looked through you, like you were part of the furniture. But here's what nobody knew. What nobody could have guessed as they watched him mop their floors and empty their trash cans. Every night when Marcus finished his cleaning, he'd stand in the wings of that empty concert hall. And he'd listen. Because even though the musicians were gone, even though the audience had left hours ago, the music remained. It lived in those walls, in that wood, in the air itself. And it was killing him, slowly, quietly, every single night. Because Marcus Williams hadn't always been a janitor. 17 years ago, Marcus was a prodigy. The word people used was gifted, but even that didn't capture it. At 13, he could play Rachmaninoff's Third Piano Concerto, one of the most technically demanding pieces in classical music, from memory. At 15, he performed at Carnegie Hall. At 18, he received a full scholarship to Juilliard, the most prestigious music school in the world. His parents were so proud. His mother, Grace, worked double shifts as a nurse to support his dreams. His father, Robert, drove a taxi 80 hours a week. And his little sister, Aaliyah, who was 6 years younger, would sit and watch him practice for hours, absolutely mesmerized. Aaliyah wanted to be just like her big brother. She was learning piano too, showing the same natural talent Marcus had. She'd say, "One day we'll perform together, Marcus. You and me on stage at Carnegie Hall." Marcus would smile and ruffle her hair. "One day, little sis, I promise." They were a close family, not wealthy but rich in the ways that mattered. Love, support, dreams. And then one night in December, everything ended. Marcus was 21, home from Juilliard for winter break. He'd just performed in a recital that afternoon, one of his best performances ever. The family went out to celebrate at a diner, nothing fancy, just burgers and milkshakes. But they were happy. They were driving home when it happened. A drunk driver ran a red light at 60 miles per hour, hit them on the passenger side. the side where his mother, father, and Aaliyah were sitting. Marcus, in the driver's seat, survived with minor injuries. Physically, anyway. His family didn't. At the hospital, they told him his mother died instantly. His father survived for 3 hours before his injuries were too severe. And Aaliyah, his 12-year-old sister who dreamed of playing piano at Carnegie Hall, held on for 2 days before she slipped away. Marcus was there when she died, holding her hand. She'd whispered, barely audible, "Play for me, Marcus. Play our song." But he couldn't. There was no piano in that hospital room, and by the time he could have found one, she was gone. Marcus never went back to Juilliard. He couldn't. How could he play music when music had been his family's dream? When every note reminded him of his mother's proud smile, his father's encouraging words, his sister's wide-eyed wonder. The piano, which had been his life, became his enemy, a reminder of everything he'd lost. For 7 years, Marcus Williams hadn't touched a piano, hadn't played a single note. He'd taken the night janitor job at the concert hall because he needed money to survive, and it was the only place hiring. He told himself he could handle being around music without playing it. He was wrong. Every night was torture. Every night was a reminder of what he'd lost and who he used to be. But he couldn't leave, because in some sick way being near the music was the only thing keeping him connected to his family, even if it was killing him inside. Marcus had no friends. After the accident, he'd pushed everyone away. His friends from Juilliard tried to reach out at first, but he never responded. Eventually, they stopped trying. He didn't blame them. He spent his days sleeping, his nights working, and the hours in between just existing, surviving. He'd think about his family every single day. Wonder what they'd think of him now. His mother, who'd sacrificed so much for his music, would probably be heartbroken to see him waste his talent. His father, who'd believed Marcus would change the world, would probably be disappointed. And Aaliyah, his sweet little sister, would probably be sad that her big brother broke his promise. "We'll perform together," he'd told her. But they never did. And now they never could. Sometimes late at night, after his shift, Marcus would stand on that stage. The grand piano would be right there, just a few feet away. He'd look at it. His fingers would twitch. The muscle memory was still there, buried under 7 years of grief and guilt. But he could never bring himself to touch it, because touching those keys would mean admitting his family was really gone. It would mean moving on. And Marcus wasn't sure he deserved to move on. He was 35 years old alone, and convinced he'd spend the rest of his life exactly like this. Invisible, going through the motions, alive, but not really living. Marcus Williams had given up on happiness, had given up on dreams, had given up on love. But fate, as it turns out, had different plans. Sarah Mitchell was 32 years old and still believed in the goodness of people, which, considering everything she'd been through, was either admirable or foolish. Probably both. She was a special education teacher at an elementary school in Cambridge. Her students were kids that other teachers sometimes gave up on. Kids with autism, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy learning disabilities. Kids that society sometimes labeled as difficult or unteachable. Sarah loved them fiercely. She saw potential where others saw problems. She celebrated small victories, a child making eye contact for the first time, another learning to write their name, another making a friend. Her classroom was full of color and laughter. She had a gentle way about her, patient and kind, but also firm when needed. She believed every child deserved to be seen, to be heard, to be valued. Her colleagues sometimes joked that she was too soft, too idealistic. "You can't save everyone, Sarah," they'd say. But Sarah would just smile and say, "Maybe not, but I can try." She drove a 10-year-old Honda that barely ran. She lived in a small, one-bedroom apartment that she could barely afford on a teacher's salary. She wore the same 5 outfits rotated throughout the week because she couldn't justify spending money on clothes when her students needed supplies. Sarah Mitchell was by most measures not wealthy, not glamorous, not impressive by society's standards. But she was good. Genuinely deeply good. The kind of person who'd stop to help a stranger, who'd volunteer at soup kitchens on weekends, who'd foster rescue dogs until they found forever homes. She was also lonely, though she'd never admit it out loud. 6 months ago, Sarah's husband of 4 years, David, had asked for a divorce. They'd met in college. He was charming, ambitious, studying business. She was studying education, dreaming of making a difference. They seemed like a good match at first. He supported her dreams, or so she thought. But as the years went on, David changed. Or maybe he'd always been this way, and Sarah just hadn't seen it. He became obsessed with success, with money, with status. He resented that Sarah was just a teacher. He'd make comments about how his friends' wives were lawyers, doctors, executives. "Don't you want more?" he'd ask. "Don't you want to be something?" Sarah would respond, "I am something. I'm a teacher." But it was never enough for him. The final straw came when David started an affair with a woman named Veronica, a corporate lawyer who made 6 figures and wore designer clothes. When Sarah found out, David didn't even seem sorry. "She's going places, Sarah. She has ambition. You're stuck teaching kids who probably won't amount to anything anyway?" Those words cut deeper than the affair itself. Sarah filed for divorce. She got the apartment, the old car, and a lot of debt. David got Veronica a promotion, and apparently no conscience. The divorce shattered Sarah's confidence. She started questioning everything. Was she too ordinary? Too boring? Not ambitious enough? Not pretty enough? Not successful enough? She'd gained weight during the marriage, stress eating through David's criticisms. She didn't wear makeup often because, honestly, who had time? Her clothes were practical, not fashionable. Her hair was usually in a simple ponytail. Sarah had started to believe maybe David was right. Maybe she wasn't enough. After the divorce, Sarah's so-called friends rallied around her. At least that's what they claimed. Jessica, Amanda, and Brittany were women Sarah had known since college. Unlike Sarah, they'd all married wealthy men. They lived in expensive homes in the suburbs, drove luxury cars, spent their days at country clubs and spa appointments. They'd always treated Sarah a bit like a charity case, the poor friend they kept around to feel better about themselves. "Oh, Sarah, you're so noble working with those special needs kids," Jessica would say, in a tone that wasn't quite sincere. "I could never do what you do," Amanda would add. "I need intellectual stimulation." Sarah told herself they meant well, that they were her friends, but deep down she knew better. After the divorce, they insisted on setting her up. "You need to get back out there, sweetie. Find someone better than David." But their definition of better meant wealthier, more successful, higher status. Sarah wasn't interested in that. She wanted someone kind, someone genuine, someone who saw her for who she was. But she was also lonely. And when you're lonely and heartbroken, you sometimes accept help from people who don't have your best interests at heart, which is exactly what happened. It started at one of Jessica's dinner parties. Sarah had been invited, though she always felt out of place at these events. Everyone talking about their vacations to Europe, their home renovations, their children's private schools. Sarah sipped her wine and tried to smile in the right places. "You know what Sarah needs?" Jessica announced to the table. "A date. A real date." The other women agreed enthusiastically. "I've been trying online dating," Sarah admitted. "It's been okay, Online dating. Amanda laughed. Oh, honey, no. You need us to set you up. Sarah was hesitant, but they insisted. We know the perfect guy. He's interesting, different, not your usual type. What Sarah didn't know was that later that night, after she'd left, Jessica had a very different conversation with the others. I have the most hilarious idea, Jessica said, refilling her wine glass. You know that concert hall where we have our season tickets? Riverside Brittany asked. Yes. There's this janitor there. Black guy, quiet, kind of pathetic. I've seen him mopping up after performances. Amanda raised an eyebrow. And Jessica continued grinning. What if we set Sarah up with him? There was a moment of shocked silence, then laughter. You're joking, Amanda said. Am I? Think about it. Sarah's always going on about how money doesn't matter, how she values kindness over success, how she doesn't judge people. Well, let's test that theory. That's cruel, Brittany said, but she was smiling. It's a lesson Jessica corrected. Sarah needs to understand that idealism doesn't work in the real world. Maybe if she sees how ridiculous she looks with someone so beneath her station, she'll wake up and aim higher. Plus, Amanda added, it'll be funny as hell to watch. They spent the next hour planning. They'd create a fake dating profile for this janitor. They didn't even know his name yet. They'd match him with Sarah, arrange for them to meet at a nice restaurant where Jessica could watch. She'll be mortified when she finds out he's a janitor, Jessica said. Maybe it'll teach her to stop being so sanctimonious about not caring about money. None of them considered it might be cruel. None of them considered they might be wrong. They just thought it would be funny. The next week, Jessica called Sarah. Okay, so we found someone perfect for you. His name is Marcus. He works at the Riverside Concert Hall. Sarah was immediately interested. Really? What does he do there? Jessica chose her words carefully. He works there at night. He's very dedicated. Not a lie, technically. What's he like? Sarah asked. Quiet, thoughtful. Honestly, Sarah, I think you two would really connect. He's not like other guys, not flashy or arrogant, just real. That appealed to Sarah. After David's superficiality, real sounded perfect. I've already set up a profile for him on this dating app, Jessica continued. I'll send you his information. You two can match and plan a date. You made him a profile? Sarah was surprised. He's not great with technology, Jessica lied smoothly. He asked for help. Sarah felt touched. A guy who wasn't obsessed with social media and apps refreshing. She looked at the profile Jessica sent. The photo was blurry. Jessica had taken it sneakily at the concert hall, but Marcus looked kind. His smile seemed genuine. The bio was simple, looking for someone real, someone kind, someone who sees beyond the surface. Sarah's heart melted a little. This was exactly what she wanted to hear. She swiped right. They matched. And when Marcus suggested meeting for dinner at Antonio's, a nice Italian restaurant downtown, Sarah said yes. She was nervous, but hopeful. Maybe this would be good. Maybe this Marcus would be different. She had no idea she was walking into a setup. No idea her so-called friends were planning to humiliate her. Meanwhile, Marcus knew nothing about any of this. It was his co-worker Tommy who first mentioned the dating app. Tommy worked security at the concert hall, one of the few people who actually talked to Marcus. They weren't exactly friends, but they were cordial. Hey man, you ever try those dating apps? Tommy asked one night during their break. Marcus shook his head. Not really my thing. Come on. You're what, 35? When's the last time you went on a date? Marcus didn't answer. The last date he'd been on was with Angela, his girlfriend from Juilliard, over 7 years ago. They'd broken up after the accident. She couldn't handle his grief, and he couldn't blame her. Just try it, Tommy encouraged. What's the worst that could happen? Tommy didn't know he'd been put up to this by Jessica, who'd slipped him $50 to plant the seed. Against his better judgment, Marcus downloaded the app. He felt ridiculous creating a profile. What would he even say, 35-year-old janitor with crippling grief and no future prospects seeks? What exactly? But he tried. He kept it simple and honest. He used a photo Tommy took of him, said he worked at the concert hall, listed his interests as music and, well, mostly music. He didn't expect any matches. Who'd want to date a janitor? But then he matched with Sarah. Her profile showed a woman with kind eyes and a warm smile. Her bio mentioned teaching special needs children, loving old movies, and believing everyone deserves kindness. She seemed real, genuine. Not like she'd judge him for his job or his lack of ambition. When she agreed to meet for dinner, Marcus felt something he hadn't felt in 7 years: hope. Maybe, just maybe, he could have something good in his life again. Not love, necessarily, that seemed too much to hope for, but companionship. Someone to talk to. Someone who saw him as a person, not just the invisible guy who mopped floors. He went to the thrift store and bought a suit. It was old and didn't fit perfectly, but it was the best he could afford. He got his hair cut. He even practiced conversations in the mirror, feeling foolish but determined. Marcus Williams, who hadn't let himself hope for anything in 7 years, was hoping again. He had no idea it was all a joke. No idea that the woman he'd be meeting thought he was something other than a janitor. No idea that people were planning to laugh at him. All he knew was that for the first time in years, he had a reason to look forward to something. The day of the date. Marcus called in sick to his janitor shift. He couldn't remember the last time he'd taken a day off. He spent the afternoon getting ready, his stomach tied in knots. The suit from the thrift store was navy blue, slightly worn at the elbows, but clean. He paired it with a white shirt and a tie he'd owned since his Juilliard days, one of the few things he'd kept from his old life. Looking at himself in the mirror, Marcus barely recognized the man staring back. He looked almost like his old self, almost like the young man who'd performed at Carnegie Hall, who'd had dreams and a future. Almost. But the eyes were different. Sadder. Older. He thought about his sister, Aaliyah. She used to give him pep talks before performances. "You're gonna be amazing, Marcus. Just be yourself. That's all you need to be." Just be yourself, Marcus whispered to his reflection. But who was he anymore? The prodigy was gone. The son and brother was gone. All that was left was this hollow shell of a man who cleaned floors and tried not to think about everything he'd lost. Maybe this Sarah would see something in him worth knowing. Or maybe she'd see right through him and realize he was broken beyond repair. Either way, he had to try. Because dying slowly of loneliness wasn't living at all. Marcus grabbed his keys. His old car was barely running, but would have to do, and headed to Antonio's restaurant. His hands shook the entire drive there. Sarah stood in front of her closet feeling like a teenager again. "What do you wear to a first date in your 30s? Especially when you haven't dated anyone besides your ex-husband. In over 8 years, she tried on 5 different outfits before settling on a simple blue dress. Nothing fancy, but it made her feel pretty. She added a cardigan because the evening was cool and slipped on comfortable flats because heels felt like trying too hard. She looked at herself in the mirror and felt a wave of insecurity. David used to criticize her appearance constantly. "You'd be prettier if you lost weight. Why don't you wear your hair down? Can't you dress more professionally?" Sarah had to consciously push those thoughts away. She was enough, just as she was. She applied a little makeup. Nothing dramatic, just enough to feel put together. Her hair was down, falling past her shoulders in soft waves. Before leaving, she called Jessica. "I'm so nervous," Sarah admitted. What if he doesn't like me, Sarah, honey? Just be yourself. If he doesn't appreciate you, he's an idiot. Jessica's voice was warm, supportive. Sarah didn't detect the underlying cruelty, didn't hear the hidden laughter. You're right, Sarah said, taking a deep breath. Just be myself. Exactly. Now go have fun. And text me after Sarah grabbed her purse and headed out. Antonio's was a 20-minute drive, which gave her plenty of time to overthink everything. What if they had nothing to talk about? What if it was awkward? What if he took one look at her and was disappointed? But another part of her, the part that hadn't been completely crushed by divorce and criticism, felt hopeful. Marcus's profile had seemed so genuine, so real. Maybe this would be the start of something good. Sarah Mitchell, who'd been hurt and humiliated, was allowing herself to hope again. She had no idea she was driving straight into a trap. Jessica, Amanda, and Brittany arrived at Antonio's 30 minutes before the scheduled date. They'd reserved a table with a clear view of the entrance and had specifically requested to be near table 7, where Marcus and Sarah would be sitting. This is going to be incredible, Amanda said, sipping her martini. I still think it's kind of mean, Brittany said, though she was smiling. It's not mean, it's a reality check, Jessica insisted. Sarah lives in this fantasy world where she thinks inner beauty and kindness matter more than success and status. Well, let's see how she handles being set up with someone who's literally at the bottom of the social ladder. They'd even set up a camera discreetly positioned in Amanda's purse, which sat on the table to record the whole thing. When he shows up in his janitor uniform, Amanda started. He won't be wearing his uniform, Jessica interrupted. That's what makes it funnier. He'll probably try to dress nice, poor thing. But the moment we accidentally mention what he does for a living, Sarah's face is going to be priceless. And then what Brittany asked. Then Sarah will make some excuse and leave. Marcus will realize he never had a chance. And everyone learns a valuable lesson about staying in your lane. They clinked their glasses together, laughing. None of them considered they might be wrong. None of them thought about the real people they were hurting. None of them imagined that their little joke might backfire in ways they couldn't predict. They were just excited to watch the show. Marcus arrived at Antonio's 15 minutes early. He sat in his car for 10 of those minutes, trying to calm his racing heart. You can do this. It's just dinner. Just a conversation. At exactly 7 p.m., he walked into the restaurant. The host greeted him warmly, and Marcus gave Sarah's name. Ah yes, your table is ready. Right this way. Marcus followed him to a table near the window. The restaurant was beautiful white tablecloths, soft lighting, the smell of garlic, and fresh bread filling the air. He sat down, his hands fidgeting with the menu. He felt out of place, like everyone could tell he didn't belong here. And then he saw her. Sarah walked through the door, and Marcus forgot to breathe for a moment. She was beautiful. Not in the conventional magazine cover way, but in a way that seemed real and warm. Her smile was nervous but genuine. Her eyes were kind. The host led her to the table, and Sarah's face lit up when she saw Marcus. Marcus, she asked, extending her hand. Sarah. He replied, standing and shaking her hand. His palm was sweating, but if she noticed, she didn't seem to mind. It's so nice to meet you, Sarah said, sitting down. You too, Marcus managed. There was a moment of awkward silence, that first date tension that everyone experiences. But then Sarah laughed, a soft, genuine sound. I'm so nervous, she admitted. I haven't done this in a while. Me neither, Marcus said, and he found himself smiling. 7 years, actually. 7 years? Sarah's eyebrows raised. Wow, well, that makes me feel better about my 6 months. They both laughed, And just like that, the tension eased. Marcus found himself looking at Sarah and thinking she was even prettier than her photos. There was a warmth about her, a genuineness that he hadn't expected. And Sarah, looking at Marcus, saw a man with kind eyes and a gentle smile. Someone who seemed real, not performative. Neither of them noticed the three women watching from a nearby table. Neither of them realized this was all supposed to be a joke. All they knew was that sitting across from each other felt surprisingly right. The conversation started tentatively, but quickly found its rhythm. "So you're a teacher?" Marcus asked. Sarah nodded enthusiastically. "Special education. Elementary school. I work with kids who have various disabilities and learning challenges." "That must be rewarding," Marcus said. And he meant it. "It is," Sarah said, her face lighting up. "These kids, they're incredible. They work so much harder than anyone gives them credit for. Every small victory is huge. Like last week, one of my students with autism, he's 8 years old, made eye contact with me for the first time ever and said, 'Thank you.' I almost cried." Marcus smiled. He could tell she genuinely loved her work. "That's amazing. I bet you're great at what you do." Sarah blushed slightly. "I try." "What about you?" Jessica said. "You work at the Riverside Concert Hall." Marcus tensed slightly, but nodded. "Yeah, I work there at night." "That must be interesting," Sarah said. "Do you get to hear the performances?" "Sometimes," Marcus said carefully. "Mostly I work after everything's over. But yeah, the music, it's incredible." "Do you like music?" Sarah asked. Marcus felt his throat tighten. How did he answer that music was everything? Music was pain. Music was his family. Music was the thing he'd loved and lost. "Yeah," he said simply. "I love music." Sarah noticed something shift in his expression, something darker, sadder, but she didn't press. She was good at reading people, especially when they were hurting. "What kind of music?" she asked gently. "Classical mostly. Piano." The word came out rough, like it hurt to say. "Piano." Sarah's eyes lit up. "I always wanted to learn piano. Never had the chance growing up, lessons were expensive, but I love listening to it. There's something so beautiful about piano music." Marcus found himself wanting to tell her everything. About Juilliard, about his family, about the 7 years of silence, but he couldn't. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Instead, he changed the subject. "Tell me more about your students." And Sarah did. She told him about Tommy, who had Down syndrome and loved dinosaurs. About Maya, who used a wheelchair and wanted to be an astronaut. About Jordan, who was deaf and learning sign language and teaching it to the whole class. Marcus listened, genuinely interested. Sarah's passion was infectious. The way she talked about these kids with such love and respect, it reminded him of how his mother used to talk about him and Aaliyah. For the first time in 7 years, Marcus felt something other than grief. He felt connected. They'd been talking for nearly 30 minutes, and neither had noticed anything else around them. The food had arrived, but they'd barely touched it, too engrossed in conversation. Sarah was laughing at something Marcus had said when she heard a familiar voice. "Sarah. Oh my God. Sarah, is that you?" Sarah looked up to see Jessica approaching their table, Amanda and Brittany trailing behind. Jessica. Sarah was surprised. "What are you doing here?" "We're just having a girls' night," Jessica said, her smile wide and predatory. "But I had to come say hi when I saw you. Is this your date?" "Yes, this is Marcus," Sarah said. "Marcus, these are my friends, Jessica, Amanda, and Brittany." "Nice to meet you," Marcus said politely, though something in Jessica's expression made him uneasy. "So, Marcus?" Jessica said, her tone conversational, but with an edge. "Sarah was just telling us about you. You work at the Riverside Concert Hall, right?" "Yes," Marcus said carefully. What do you do there exactly? Jessica pressed. Are you a musician? A sound engineer? Marcus felt his stomach drop. He knew where this was going. I'm a janitor, he said quietly. There was a beat of silence. Sarah's smile faltered, not with judgment, but with confusion. Why were her friends looking at Marcus like that, a janitor? Jessica repeated, as if tasting the word. How nice. Jessica. Sarah said a warning in her tone. What, I'm just making conversation, Jessica said innocently. It's just, when you said you were setting yourself up with someone from the concert hall, I assumed you meant someone a bit more professional. Marcus felt the humiliation wash over him. This was it. The moment Sarah realized she was too good for him. The moment she'd make an excuse and leave. He started to push his chair back. I should go. But then Sarah did something unexpected. She reached across the table and took his hand. Don't, Sarah said firmly, looking at Marcus. Then she turned to Jessica. What's wrong with you? Jessica blinked, surprised. What? Why would you say that? Why would you try to embarrass him? I'm not. Jessica started. Yes, you are, Sarah interrupted. Her voice wasn't loud, but it was strong. You're being incredibly rude. She looked at Marcus, whose expression was a mixture of shame and resignation, like he'd expected this, like he'd been waiting for the other shoe to drop all night. And suddenly Sarah understood. This wasn't a coincidence. Jessica didn't just happen to be here. This was planned. The whole thing was planned. You set this up, Sarah said slowly, looking at her friends. You set us both up. This was a joke to you. Brittany had the decency to look ashamed. Amanda suddenly found her drink fascinating, but Jessica shrugged. We thought you needed a reality check, Sarah. You're always going on about how surface things don't matter, how you don't care about money or status. We wanted to see if you really meant it. By humiliating someone. Sarah's voice cracked. By using a real person as the punchline of your joke, Marcus was still frozen, unable to process what was happening. Sarah squeezed his hand. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. It's okay, Marcus said quietly. I should have known someone like you wouldn't really want to date someone like me. Stop, Sarah said fiercely. Don't say that. Your job doesn't define who you are. She looked back at Jessica, and her eyes were blazing. You want to know the truth? I've spent the last 30 minutes having the best conversation I've had in years. Marcus is kind, thoughtful, and genuine, which is more than I can say for any of you. Sarah. Jessica started. I'm not finished, Sarah cut her off. You know what I've realized? You're not my friends. Friends don't try to humiliate you. Friends don't play cruel jokes. Friends don't treat people like they're less than human because of their job. She stood up, still holding Marcus's hand. We're leaving. Marcus looked up at her, stunned. What? We're leaving? Sarah repeated. This date isn't over. We're just going somewhere else. Somewhere we don't have to deal with toxic people who think cruelty is entertainment. They left the restaurant, leaving Jessica and her friends stunned into silence. Outside, the evening air was cool. Sarah was shaking, partly from anger, partly from adrenaline. I'm so sorry, she said again. I had no idea. If I'd known they were planning something like that. It's not your fault, Marcus said. His mind was still reeling. But why did you do that? Defend me, I mean. You could have just left. Sarah looked at him, really looked at him, because they were wrong, and because from the moment we started talking, I felt like I was finally meeting someone real, someone who wasn't pretending or performing, someone who actually listened when I talked. She laughed a bit bitterly. My ex-husband, he was successful by their standards. Good job, good money, respected, and he was miserable to live with. He made me feel small and worthless because I only taught kids who wouldn't amount to anything. Marcus winced at that. But you, Sarah continued, you listened to me talk about my students like they mattered. You asked questions. You cared. And I don't give a damn if you're a janitor or a CEO. That's who you are. Marcus felt something crack open inside him, something that had been frozen for 7 years. I wasn't always a janitor, he heard himself say. Sarah waited, giving him space to continue. I was a pianist, a concert pianist. I got into Juilliard. I played at Carnegie Hall. The words came out haltingly, like he was pulling them from somewhere deep and painful. Sarah's eyes widened. Really? 7 years ago, my family died. Car accident. My mom, my dad, and my little sister. They were my whole world. Music was our bond. And after they died, I couldn't touch a piano. Every note reminded me of them. Marcus. Sarah whispered, her eyes filling with tears. I took the janitor job because I needed money, and it was the only place hiring. And because being around music, even if I couldn't play, was the only way I felt close to them. But it's been killing me. Every day being so close to what I love and can't have. Sarah reached for his hand again. I'm so sorry. I can't imagine how painful that must be. Marcus looked at their joined hands. I haven't told anyone that. Not in 7 years. I don't know why I'm telling you. Because sometimes, Sarah said softly, we meet people we're meant to meet. People who see us for who we really are. They stood there on the sidewalk, 2 broken people who'd been set up as a joke, holding hands in the cooling evening air. I don't want this night to end, Marcus admitted. Neither do I, Sarah said. So let's not let it. Come on, where are we going? Sarah smiled. You work at a concert hall, right? And it's nighttime. I bet it's beautiful there when it's empty. Marcus felt his heart start to race. I don't know if I can. Just show me where you work, Sarah said gently. We don't have to do anything else. I just want to see what it's like. See the world through your eyes for a little while. Marcus wanted to say no, wanted to protect himself from the pain that being in that space always brought. But looking at Sarah, seeing the genuine care in her eyes, he found himself nodding. Okay, he said. I can do that. As they drove to the concert hall, Sarah following in her car behind Marcus, Marcus found himself lost in memories. He hadn't talked about his family in 7 years, hadn't allowed himself to really remember them beyond the pain of losing them. But now, with Sarah's kindness still warm in his chest, the memories came flooding back. His mother, Grace, had worked at Boston Medical Center as a pediatric nurse. She was the strongest person Marcus had ever known. She'd grown up poor, worked her way through nursing school while raising Marcus essentially alone. His father didn't come into the picture until Marcus was 5. But she never complained, never made Marcus feel like a burden. Instead, she sacrificed everything to nurture his talent. Marcus had shown interest in piano at age 4. They couldn't afford lessons, but Grace found a church that would let him practice on their piano if she volunteered in the soup kitchen. So that's what she did. Every Saturday, Grace would volunteer for hours, and little Marcus would practice on that old, slightly out-of-tune church piano. By age 7, a music teacher at his school noticed his talent and offered free lessons. By age 10, he won his first competition. By age 13, he was performing pieces that college students struggled with. His father, Robert, came into their lives when Marcus was 5. Robert drove a taxi and had grown up in foster care. He'd never had a family of his own, so when he met Grace and Marcus, he fell in love with both of them. Robert wasn't educated, wasn't refined, but he loved fiercely. He worked 80-hour weeks to help pay for Marcus's piano lessons, his competitions, his travel to performances. He'd sit in the audience at every recital, bursting with pride, sometimes with tears in his eyes. "That's my son," he'd tell anyone who'd listen. "My son, the genius." And then there was Aaliyah. Aaliyah was born when Marcus was 12. He'd worried a baby might mean less attention for him, less money for music. But Aaliyah became his biggest fan from day one. As a toddler, she'd sit under the piano while Marcus practiced, completely mesmerized. As she got older, she'd beg him to teach her. By age 8, she was showing the same natural talent Marcus had. They'd play duets together. Marcus would play the complex parts, and Aaliyah would play the simpler ones, and they'd laugh when she'd mess up and have to start over. "One day we'll perform together at Carnegie Hall," Aaliyah would say. "Just you and me, Marcus. Brother and sister." "I promise, little sis," Marcus would tell her. One day. The last normal day of Marcus's life was December 15th, 7 years ago. He was home from Juilliard for winter break. He'd performed in a recital that afternoon, Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 2, one of the most romantic and technically demanding pieces in the classical repertoire. He'd played it perfectly. The audience had given him a standing ovation. His professor had pulled him aside afterward and said, "Marcus, you're going to be one of the greats. I truly believe that." His family had been so proud. His mother cried. His father couldn't stop smiling. Aaliyah, now 12, had squeezed his hand and said, "That was the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. I want to play like that someday." "You will," Marcus had promised. "You're already so good, Leah. You'll be even better than me." They went to their favorite diner to celebrate. Nothing fancy, just a family-owned place that made the best burgers in Boston. They'd been going there since Marcus was a kid. Marcus remembered everything about that dinner. His mother ordering the turkey club she always got. His father getting the cheeseburger with extra pickles. Aaliyah getting chicken tenders and spending half the meal stealing his French fries. They talked about the future. Marcus's graduation from Juilliard in 18 months. The possibility of touring Europe. Aaliyah's upcoming recital, where she'd perform her first full sonata. "I'm so proud of both of you," Grace had said, tears in her eyes again. "My musical children." Robert had raised his water glass. To family, to music, to all the beautiful things ahead. They'd clinked glasses Aaliyah with her chocolate milkshake and smiled. 2 hours later, their car was hit by a drunk driver going 60 miles an hour through a red light. Marcus was driving. He'd been driving carefully, following all the rules, paying attention. He never saw the other car coming. The impact was on the passenger side. The side where his entire family sat. Marcus remembered the sound of metal crushing, glass shattering. His mother screaming for just a second before the sound cut off. The airbag deploying, punching him in the face. Then silence. Marcus had a concussion and a broken arm. Everything else was fine physically. His mother died instantly. The impact killed her before she could even process what was happening. His father survived the initial crash but had severe internal injuries. He died in the ambulance before they even got to the hospital. Aaliyah was the worst. She survived the crash, was conscious in the hospital. Marcus sat with her for 2 days, while her small body fought against injuries too severe to overcome. She couldn't speak, the trauma was too much. But she held Marcus's hand. And in those final hours, she'd look at him with those big brown eyes that looked so much like their mother's, and Marcus knew what she was thinking. "Play for me, Marcus. Play our song." But there was no piano in that hospital room. And even if there had been, Marcus's arm was broken. He couldn't play. "I'm sorry, Leah," he'd whispered, tears streaming down his face. "I'm so sorry. I love you so much." She'd squeezed his hand one last time, and then she was gone. Marcus was 21 years old, and in one night he'd lost everyone he loved. The drunk driver survived with minor injuries. He was a 23-year-old college student who'd had too much to drink at a party. At trial, he cried and apologized and got sentenced to 8 years in prison. 8 years. 2 years and 8 months per life. Marcus didn't go to the trial, didn't go to the sentencing, didn't care, because no amount of justice would bring them back. He tried to go back to Juilliard 3 months later, tried to continue his life. But the moment he sat at a piano to practice, he broke down. Every note sounded like his mother's voice. Every melody reminded him of playing duets with Aaliyah. Every piece was a reminder that they'd never hear him perform again. His professors were understanding, told him to take time, as much as he needed. But Marcus never went back. He dropped out, let his scholarship lapse, stopped answering calls from friends and mentors. He spent the next year barely functioning, living off his parents' small life insurance policy and what he could get from selling their belongings. Moving from apartment to apartment because everywhere reminded him of them. When the money ran out, he needed a job. Any job. The Riverside Concert Hall was hiring a night janitor. Marcus applied thinking maybe being around music would help. It didn't. It just made the pain worse. But he stayed anyway. Because leaving would mean moving on. And moving on would mean accepting they were really gone. So for 7 years, Marcus Williams cleaned the floors of a concert hall surrounded by the music he loved, and could no longer touch living a half-life waiting for something, anything to change. He'd thought nothing ever would. Until tonight. Marcus pulled into the concert hall parking lot, Sarah right behind him. It was 9 p.m. on a Tuesday. The building was dark, closed for the night. Tomorrow there'd be a morning rehearsal. But tonight, it was empty. Marcus got out of his car and waited for Sarah. His heart was pounding. He couldn't remember the last time he'd brought anyone here. Sarah walked over, looking up at the building. The Riverside Concert Hall was beautiful classic architecture, wide stone steps, tall columns. It looked like a temple to music. "It's stunning," Sarah said. "Yeah," Marcus agreed. "It is." He pulled out his keys, his janitor keys, which suddenly felt heavy with meaning, and unlocked the front door. "Are we allowed to be here?" Sarah asked. "I work here," Marcus said. "I'm allowed to be here anytime, and you're my guest." They stepped inside, and Marcus flicked on the lobby lights. The space was magnificent, even without an audience. High ceilings, elegant carpeting walls lined with photos of famous performers who'd graced this stage. Sarah walked slowly, taking it all in. "Do you ever get used to how beautiful it is?" "No," Marcus admitted. "Never." Marcus led Sarah down the main aisle toward the auditorium. He unlocked those doors too, and they stepped into the heart of the building. The concert hall itself was breathtaking. Over 1,000 seats arranged in perfect acoustical formation, balconies rising on 3 sides, and at the center of it all, the stage. And on that stage, illuminated by a single work light Marcus had left on from his last shift, sat a Steinway Model D grand piano. 9 feet of polished black perfection. Sarah gasped. "Oh, Marcus." "Yeah," he said quietly. They walked down the aisle together. Sarah's footsteps echoed in the empty space. Marcus had walked this path thousands of times while cleaning, but never with someone beside him. Never with someone who wanted to understand. "Is this what you clean?" Sarah asked. "Every night." Every night, Marcus confirmed. "I mop the floors, wipe down the seats, clean the stage, make sure everything's perfect for the next performance. Do you ever go near the piano?" Marcus's jaw tightened. "I try not to." They reached the stage, and Marcus helped Sarah up the steps. The stage was enormous, designed for full orchestras. But tonight, it was empty except for that piano. Sarah walked slowly toward it, like approaching something sacred. "Can I touch it?" "Yes," Marcus said. Sarah ran her fingers along the piano's polished edge. "It's beautiful. I've never been this close to one this nice before." Marcus stayed back near the wings. His hands were shaking. "Do you ever want to play?" Sarah asked softly. "Every day," Marcus admitted. "And never," both at the same time. Sarah turned to look at him. In the dim light of the empty concert hall, Marcus looked haunted. She could see the war happening inside him, the desire and the fear, the love and the pain. "What are you afraid of?" she asked gently. Marcus took a shaky breath. "I'm afraid that if I play, I'll remember everything. I'm afraid I'll hear my mother's voice telling me she's proud. I'll hear my father crying at my performances. I'll hear Aaliyah laughing when she messed up a note." "And is that bad?" Sarah asked, remembering them. "It hurts," Marcus said simply. "It hurts so much." "I know," Sarah said. "But Marcus, you've been hurting anyway. You've been in pain for 7 years trying not to remember, trying not to feel. And it hasn't made it any better, has it?" Marcus closed his eyes. She was right. What if Sarah continued moving closer to him? What if you played not to forget them, but to remember them? Not to move on, but to honor them? "I don't know if I can," Marcus whispered. "You don't have to," Sarah assured him. "There's no pressure. We can just sit here. We can leave. Whatever you need." Marcus looked at the piano. That instrument had been his whole life once. His family's pride and joy, his sister's dream, Aaliyah's last words to him unspoken but clear in her eyes. "Play for me, Marcus." He'd never played for her. Never kept that promise. "What would you play?" Sarah asked. "If you could play anything right now." The answer came immediately. "Moonlight Sonata, first movement." It was Aaliyah's favorite. She'd make me play it over and over. She said it sounded like sadness turning into hope. Sarah smiled softly. "That sounds beautiful." Marcus found himself moving toward the piano bench. His feet carried him there, almost against his will. He stood beside the piano, his hands hovering over the keys, but not touching. "I'm terrified," he admitted. "I know," Sarah said, coming to stand beside him. "But Marcus, I've known you for less than 3 hours, and I can already tell you're one of the bravest people I've ever met. You survived something that would have destroyed most people. You kept going even when you wanted to give up. And you're still here, still fighting, still hoping for something better." She took his hand. "Your family would be so proud of you. Not because of your talent, but because of your heart." Marcus looked at Sarah, this woman he'd just met, who'd defended him against her friends, who'd left a restaurant to follow him here, who was standing beside him in an empty concert hall, telling him he was brave. "Why are you doing this?" he asked. "Why do you care?" Sarah considered the question. "My ex-husband used to tell me I cared too much, that I wasted my energy on people and causes that didn't matter. But you know what? I think caring is never wasted. I think seeing the good in people, believing they can heal, hoping they can find their way back to themselves, I think that matters more than anything." She squeezed his hand. "And maybe I'm doing this because I need it too. I need to believe that good people exist, that genuine connections are possible, that we can overcome the things that break us." Marcus felt tears building in his eyes. I haven't played in 7 years. I know. I might not be any good anymore. I doubt that. I might break down. That's okay. I don't know if I can do this. Sarah looked at him with such kindness, such faith. Marcus, you don't have to play for me. You don't have to prove anything. But if you want to play, if you want to try, I'll be right here. And whatever happens, it'll be okay. Marcus looked at the keys. 88 keys that held infinite possibilities. 7 years of silence. 7 years of grief. But also 7 years of memories. Of love. Of a family that had sacrificed everything for his dream. Play for me, Marcus Aliyah had asked with her eyes. Okay, Marcus whispered. Okay, I'll try. He sat down on the bench. The familiar position, the feel of the wood beneath him, the perfect height, the perfect distance from the keys. His hands were shaking as he raised them over the keyboard. Marcus's hands hovered over the keys for what felt like an eternity. He could feel Sarah behind him, could feel her quiet presence, her unwavering support. But more than that, he could feel the ghosts of his family around him. His mother who'd worked double shifts so he could have lessons. His father who'd driven a taxi 80 hours a week so Marcus could afford to compete. Aliyah, who'd dreamed of playing beside him one day. They'd never wanted him to give up music. They'd wanted him to soar. I'm sorry I stopped playing, Marcus whispered into the empty hall. I'm sorry I broke my promise, Leah. I'm sorry I let the music die. A tear rolled down his cheek. But I'm going to try now. For you. For all of you. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and let muscle memory take over. The first note was tentative, the C sharp that begins Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, a single note hanging in the air. Marcus's breath caught. It sounded exactly as he remembered. Pure, clear, heartbreaking. Then the second note, and the third. The opening arpeggios that cascade like moonlight on water, like tears falling like memory itself. His hands remembered. Even after 7 years of silence, they remembered. The notes flowed from his fingers, quiet and mournful. The first movement of the Moonlight Sonata is marked Adagio sostenuto, slow and sustained. It's not technically difficult, but it requires something harder emotion. Vulnerability. The willingness to break open your heart and let the music pour out. Marcus had played this piece 100 times in his life, at recitals, at competitions in his apartment, while Aliyah listened with wide eyes. But he'd never played it like this, with 7 years of grief behind every note, with the weight of everything he'd lost and everything he'd survived. His technique was perfect muscle memory, is a powerful thing. But more than that, his playing was raw, honest, real. This wasn't a performance. This was a prayer. As Marcus moved into the heart of the piece, something extraordinary happened. He forgot he was in a concert hall, forgot Sarah was watching, forgot everything except the music. The notes poured out of him like water from a broken dam. 7 years of silence, 7 years of unspoken words, 7 years of tears. He'd held back, all of it came flooding out through his fingers. The Moonlight Sonata is about 3 minutes long, but Marcus played it like it contained his entire life story. Every dynamic shift was a memory. Every crescendo was a moment of joy. Every diminuendo was a moment of loss. He played through his tears. They streamed down his face, but he didn't stop. Couldn't stop. He played and remembered his mother's smile when he'd play for her after her long shifts at the hospital. The way she'd close her eyes and let the music wash over her exhaustion. He played and remembered his father in the audience at Carnegie Hall, tears streaming down his face, mouthing, "That's my son, it's my." He played and remembered Aaliyah sitting beside him on the piano bench, her small fingers trying to match his movements, her laughter when she'd hit a wrong note. "Play for me, Marcus." And he was. Finally, he was. Sarah watched from a few feet away, tears streaming down her own face. She'd never heard anything so beautiful and so heartbreaking in her entire life. This wasn't just music. This was a man finding his way back to himself. This was healing happening in real time. The technical perfection was there, the years of training, the natural talent, the precision of a Juilliard-trained pianist. But beyond that was something you couldn't teach. Soul, pain, love, life. Marcus played the final notes, the piece ending as quietly as it began. A whisper, a memory, a goodbye and a hello, all at once. The final note hung in the air for a long moment before fading into silence. Marcus sat motionless at the piano, his hands still on the keys, his whole body shaking. He'd done it. He'd played. After 7 years of silence, he'd finally played. And he hadn't broken. Well, he had broken, but not in the way he'd feared. He'd broken open, and something light had gotten in. Marcus Sarah's voice was thick with emotion. Marcus turned to look at her. She was crying, her hands pressed to her mouth. She couldn't find the words. "That was the most beautiful thing I've ever heard." Marcus tried to speak, but couldn't. His throat was too tight. Instead, he just shook his head, overwhelmed. Sarah crossed the stage and wrapped her arms around him. Marcus collapsed into her embrace and sobbed. Great heaving sobs that shook his whole body. 7 years of grief pouring out all at once. Sarah held him tightly, one hand stroking his back, murmuring soft words of comfort. "It's okay. Let it out. I've got you. You're okay." They stayed like that for several minutes. Two strangers who'd met 3 hours ago now, holding each other in an empty concert hall, both crying, both healing in their own ways. Finally, Marcus pulled back, wiping his eyes. "I'm sorry." "Don't apologize," Sarah said firmly. "Don't ever apologize for feeling." "I haven't cried like that since the funeral," Marcus admitted. "Maybe you needed to." Marcus looked at the piano, then back at Sarah. "Thank you for bringing me here, for encouraging me, for seeing me." Marcus, Sarah said, taking his hands in hers. "You're extraordinary. You know that, right? Not because you can play piano like that, though holy hell, you're incredibly talented. But because you've survived something unbearable, and you're still kind, still gentle, still capable of hope." Marcus felt something shift inside him. Something that had been frozen for 7 years was starting to thaw. "I don't feel extraordinary," he said quietly. "I feel broken." "Broken isn't the same as worthless," Sarah said. "Some of the most beautiful things in the world are broken. Mosaics are made from broken pieces. Light shines through cracks. You're not less because you're broken, Marcus. You're just human." Marcus looked at this incredible woman who'd walked into his life just hours ago and changed everything. "I think I was supposed to meet you tonight," he said. I think you were supposed to find me." Sarah smiled through her tears. "Or maybe you were supposed to find me." The moment was shattered by the sound of slow clapping, echoing through the concert hall. Marcus and Sarah turned to see Jessica, Amanda, and Brittany standing in the aisle. They'd followed them here. Well, well, well. Jessica said, her voice dripping with something between awe and bitterness. That was quite a performance. Sarah stepped in front of Marcus protectively. "What are you doing here? We wanted to see how our little joke ended," Amanda said, but her voice lacked its earlier confidence. "We didn't expect that." Jessica walked closer to the stage. She looked at Marcus with new eyes, not with contempt, but with something like grudging respect mixed with shame. "You're actually talented," she said. "Like really talented." "Get out," Sarah said coldly. "Sarah, we just wanted to..." Brittany started. "Get out," Sarah repeated, her voice like steel. "You've done enough damage." But Marcus surprised everyone, including himself, by speaking up. "No, let them stay." Sarah looked at him questioningly. Marcus stood wiping his face, trying to compose himself. "You wanted to humiliate us, right? You wanted to prove that Sarah was foolish for not caring about money and status. You wanted to show her that people like me aren't worth her time." The three women had the decency to look ashamed. "Well, you were wrong," Marcus continued, his voice growing stronger. "Tonight, Sarah showed me more kindness, more respect, more genuine human decency than I've experienced in 7 years. She looked past what I do for a living and saw who I am. That's not foolishness. That's wisdom. That's grace." He looked at Sarah, his eyes full of gratitude. "She's a better person than any of you will ever be. And I'm grateful for whatever twisted logic made you set us up, because without it, I never would have met her." Jessica opened her mouth, then closed it. For once, she had nothing to say. Amanda was crying. "We're sorry. We're so sorry. We thought it would be funny, but it was just cruel." "Yes, it was," Sarah said. "And I'm done. Done with your judgment, done with your toxicity, done with pretending we're friends when you clearly have no idea what friendship means." "Sarah." Jessica tried. No, Sarah cut her off. "Real friends build each other up. They celebrate each other's happiness. They don't play cruel jokes to prove a point. And they definitely don't treat human beings like pawns in their games." She took Marcus's hand. "Marcus is twice the person any of you are. He's been through hell and came out the other side still capable of kindness, still capable of creating beauty. What have you created lately besides drama and hurt Brittany was fully crying now. You're right. We're horrible. We don't deserve your friendship." "No," Sarah agreed. "You don't." Marcus squeezed Sarah's hand, then addressed the women one more time. "I forgive you. Not because what you did was okay, but because holding on to anger will just poison me. My family taught me that everyone deserves grace, even people who don't deserve it." He paused. "But grace doesn't mean there aren't consequences. You need to understand that people aren't entertainment, that someone's job, their income, their social status, none of that determines their value as a human being." Jessica nodded slowly, tears finally appearing in her eyes. "We were wrong. Completely, utterly wrong." "Yeah," Sarah said simply. "You were." "Can you ever forgive us?" Amanda asked. Sarah considered this. "Maybe someday, but not today. Today, you need to leave and think about the kind of people you want to be." The three women nodded and turned to leave. At the door, Jessica looked back. "For what it's worth," she said quietly, "that was the most beautiful music I've ever heard. And you too. You fit together in a way that makes sense. Real sense, not the fake, superficial sense we've been living by." Then they were gone, leaving Sarah and Marcus alone again. 1 week later, Marcus stood backstage at the Riverside Concert Hall, wearing the suit his boss had helped him buy after hearing him play. His boss, Mr. Henderson, had been in the building that night. He'd heard the music and come to investigate. When he'd seen Marcus at the piano, he'd stood in the back listening to every note. The next day, he'd called Marcus into his office. Marcus had expected to be fired for using the facility without permission. Instead, Mr. Henderson had offered him an audition for the concert hall's Emerging Artists series. "I don't care that you've been my janitor for 7 years," Henderson had said. "Talent like yours deserves to be heard." Marcus had auditioned. He'd played Moonlight Sonata again, along with 2 other pieces. The selection committee had unanimously voted to feature him. And now tonight, Marcus Williams was about to perform on a stage he'd cleaned 1,000 times for an audience that had walked past him without seeing him for 7 years. He was terrified. Sarah appeared beside him, beautiful in a simple green dress. They'd spent every day of the past week together, talking, laughing, getting to know each other. It was too soon to call it love, but it felt like the beginning of something real. "You ready?" she asked, taking his hand. "No," Marcus admitted. "But I'm going to do it anyway. Your family would be so proud." Marcus nodded, blinking back tears. "I hope so." The stage manager called, "5 minutes, Mr. Williams." Sarah kissed his cheek. "Go make magic." Marcus walked onto that stage, sat at that piano, and looked out at the audience. The lights were bright, but he could see faces. Some he recognized from the concert hall staff. Others were strangers. All of them were here to listen. He placed his hands on the keys, took a deep breath, and began to play. Not Moonlight Sonata, but something new. A piece he'd composed over the past week titled Aaliyah's Song, a tribute to his sister, his family, and the 7-year journey from darkness back to light. The music filled the concert hall, and this time Marcus wasn't crying. He was smiling, because he was finally keeping his promise. After the performance, after the standing ovation, after the tears and the joy, Marcus found Sarah in the lobby. "You were incredible," she said, throwing her arms around him. "I couldn't have done it without you," Marcus replied. "Yes, you could have," Sarah corrected gently. "The talent, the courage, the strength, that was all you. I just reminded you it was there." They walked out of the concert hall, hand in hand, stepping into the cool Boston night. "Where do we go from here?" Marcus asked. "Forward," Sarah said simply. "Together, one day at a time." Marcus smiled. For the first time in 7 years, the future didn't feel like something to survive. It felt like something to look forward to. Because sometimes the cruelest jokes lead to the most beautiful love stories. Sometimes the darkest nights lead to the brightest mornings. Sometimes a janitor is actually a genius waiting to be seen. And sometimes all it takes is one person who looks past the surface and sees the truth underneath. Marcus had spent 7 years invisible, mopping floors and running from his past. But Sarah had seen him. Really seen him. And in seeing him, she'd helped him see himself again. They thought it would be funny, a harmless prank. Set up the janitor with the teacher. They were wrong. It wasn't funny. It was transformative. It was magic. It was exactly what 2 broken people needed to start becoming whole again. And that, as it turns out, is the most beautiful kind of music there is.